Apex Legends Competitive has recently wrapped up Year 3 with the Birmingham LAN, where we witnessed the most competitive Apex Legends lobbies. So many teams came close to glory: Optic, Dojo, Luminosity, FaZe, Dreamfire, and many, many more. TSM might have won once again and taken home the glory, but there's one triple MNK team that cleaned through the lobbies like a storm: Blackhand.
We ran into them a couple times, but we only actually fought once, and they just like steamrolled us. That was just
crazy.
Yeah, they were. You can tell like when someone, you know, when you go into a game, like even the first game, like you just watch a team play or you fight them, you know they're just gonna like probably roll your shit.
Jeez.
Like it's like the first 10 seconds.
Like the
fight.
momentum.
You can just
tell.
yeah, the momentum. Like when we fought them, like the momentum that they had was just like there's like a brick wall running at you.
While their first performance at playoffs earlier this year left a lot to be desired, they came back in this championship with the intention to take it all. Each game, they managed to get off their feet. They were dropping between 10 and 20 kills, taking extremely difficult fights against other pro players and coming out on top by a wide margin, immediately ready to get back into more action. So how did they do it? How does a triple mouse and keyboard team overcome the contentious existence of aim assist and still manage to beat these teams by a wide margin? If you got to watch any of their gameplay, you'll notice that Blackhand is miles above other teams in their fighting capability. And that's what I'm here to share today. I'll be breaking down how Blackhand succeeds in fights both individually as players and cohesively together as a team. If you guys appreciate these breakdowns, be sure to hit that subscribe button and buckle up. There's a lot of free information in this video, and you won't want to miss it. Thank you real quick to our channel members on screen, and let's go ahead and get into the video. So I want you guys to understand specifically here. Right. I think the call from Strafing here to chill was not a good calm. They got a knock on the team on the inside, and they need space to contest. If they stay here for a long period of time, not only does the wall drop, but they also lose all their momentum. There was another team on the backside that could have pinched the team in the truck here.
Yeah. We're good. Kill inside.
If they really want to kill inside here, which I don't know if it's to be honest with you, I'm not a macro coach. I don't know if it's the best call or not to fight the team on the inside. But if they do want to fight the team on the inside, they don't need to play so close to do it, right? But the other important thing to understand is that when you're taking angles, especially on a building like this, right, it's important to make sure you fundamentally limit how many enemies can peek you and how fast those peeks can be established, right? So for example, if we were to redraw the truck, right, let's just redraw the truck from one POV. Window here, door here, front of the truck, door here, window here, this to the backside of the truck here. So this is the truck, right? If we're peeking somebody, right, the worst thing we can do, I talk about this a lot, but like the golden rule of Apex is to never peek more than one person at a time, right? This can change, or this depends on the situation that you're in, right? Because if you're playing like a door like this, right? Let's just draw like another geometry, another piece of geometry. Let's say you're playing something like this, and then you peek this doorway, right? And then there's two people, but they're facing this way. It's important to understand that right now you're peeking 0 people, right? You're not peeking anybody. But as soon as they turn around, like you shoot one or whatever, now you're being peeked by 2 people. You need to immediately back up and go into cover, so they're not both peeking you at the exact same time, right? This is really important to understand because in a higher time to kill game like Apex, you have to understand that the higher time to kill is dictated by how many players there are that can actually shoot you, right? If you're playing Valorant or some sort of tac shooter, if you're being shot by multiple people at a time, there is a realistic chance that you could live, right? Like sure, the chances of you getting one-tapped are much higher, but you could realistically kill every person that peeks you, right? I'm sure you've seen it. Actually, I can give you guys a good example of killing everybody that peeks you. This is Jalem. He is in Voltaic. He's also, I think he plays Valorant for SOAR, right? He's holding this angle here, right? And you'll notice, that guy's just not looking at him. But look at how many people are peeking him here, right? Many people. Right? And the ability to collapse plus the lethality of weapons in this game influences it. But it's still really important to make sure that if this was still an Apex and you have like a wingman here, you would have to be extremely accurate to be able to pull something of this extent off, right? I would say probably because a squad in Apex is like 3 people and a squad in Valorant is 5 people. Every kill can be equated to like, I think 1.5-ish kills or something like that, right? So here, right? Like, you can kill everybody if they peek you in this game. But you physically can't kill these people fast enough in Apex. The whole dynamic is very, very different than an actual high time to kill game. It's important to make sure that you inherently limit where opponents can actually peek you from, and how many can peek you, right? So when you're playing this truck here, right, we always want to cut off LOS at any potential opportunity that we can, right? So, for example, a bad peek would be something like sitting here. Sitting here inherently makes it to where you can be peeked from two sides at once, and you can't control both sides, right? Inherently, you can only threaten one because, okay, you could only threaten one direction because you can only look in one direction, right? Obviously, you can quickly turn around, but you have to react to information or anticipate them coming, which isn't reliable in this game because of one, audio, and two, in other games, you couldn't really anticipate it either. It's better that you don't, you know, rely on full audio or whatever to react to somebody. Obviously, it's good if you can get it, but it's better to not force yourself to have to react, right? But if you're standing here, you can get pressured from both angles here, both here and here. But if you're playing from here instead, right? If you play on the backside here, you inherently limit where opponents can come from, like this, right? You're not gonna get threatened on this side because they're not gonna swing out like this all the way around, right? And if they do, your team can punish them. That guy's throwing, right? You inherently limit where opponents can come from because this cone is split into two like this, right? This cone is split into two, so they can only really shoot you from one direction, right? It's important to make sure that you guys understand that. By manipulating the geometry in which an opponent can push you, you actually make aiming easier for yourself, right? It's way easier to aim in a narrow cone like this because your mouse doesn't have to move at all, right? In fact, if we look at something like this clip, if we look at something like this clip, for example, because the geometry automatically manipulates where my opponents can go from, I can literally just aim for free here by keeping my crosshair still. And look at my aim here, actually. Right? Like, I literally did not need to aim to kill those guys. Those guys just killed themselves because they did not know what they were doing at all, right? If you can force your opponents to play in positions like this, you're doing, like this is what makes positions stronger than others, right? But the worst thing you could do, which I don't know what Strafing Claim does because I can't really see his POV here, right? But the worst thing you could do is stand flush in the doorway or flush in the window. Because what does that do? That literally just makes it to where you can get peeked from anywhere within the truck here, which inherently puts you at like a 1v3, 1v2 situation on the very micro scale, right? This is only really worth it to do if the reward is way higher than the risk, right? If someone's 1 HP and they're playing like in this corner here and you just need to swing them, this would be pretty worth it because you can knock them and then swing back out. Even if you take a lot of damage, this team on the inside could counter swing and try to counter push off of the potential that they have, but your teammates are full HP and can probably punish it, right? As long as your team's positioning on a big scale isn't messed up at all, you know, it's a lot better to do. Does that make sense, chat? And you can see that Flash even pre-firing this angle here to try and get this guy killed, right? Because if this person moves at all, they're gonna walk into Flash's crosshair. Flash pre-fires this intentionally. Can't quite get the kill. And then Strafing dies her to his zone, which is unfortunate. The result of this was much less dictated. Well, it was again, I can't review the whole team's macro. I can't review every player individually what they do here, right? But I can look at one player and kind of get an idea of what's going on, right? They're taking this fight at already such an insane disadvantage because of their armor values and resources that they have. Which doesn't mean that they can't win it, but it means that they inherently have to play better. Right. Yeah, here it is. He's gonna walk out and walk this guy. Dude, this was filthy. Look at this. Dude, this was actually just disgusting game. Because of the way the spectre review works, it literally looks like he's cheating. It literally looks like he's cheating because it like snaps to the target. Actually so filthy, right? Literally, all you need to see in this situation, right, is what I just talked about here, right? And where if we look at the angle in which he can get peeked from anywhere in this angle, but as soon as he clears this angle and he knows this person's not here, because this person's standing still here, he does not need to move. He's not need to move his mouse at all. He moves it slightly, when the target moves, but just solid crosshair placement and knowing that this person that this person leaves his screen, he has to go that way, right? So if he keeps his crosshair in a good placement between the wall, right? Let's look at the geometry. The wall is like this. There's an intersection here. This target, if they move, they're gonna walk this way, right? So you should keep your crosshair flush right in the center, or right on the edge here. So if he wants to walk back, if his body's protruding like this, his body has to walk all the way across your crosshair for him to die, right? This isn't necessarily mouse control, but it's aim. Does that make sense? This is literally just a perfect example of understanding aim and understanding how geometry should influence your aim.
I'm sticking right. 140 on horizon. Nice. Push.
That guy just climbed. I don't really have much to say there, I'll be honest. Flash has really good aim here. And just manages to wipe this team for free. But I think this is the most competitive ALGS we've ever had. I think this was the most competitive ALGS we've ever had, so it's gonna make sense that they don't do well in these lobbies, because other teams are actually doing well.
Almost cracked.
I'm going outside.
I'm looking at this.
Quick.
Thanks. Shit on, man. Look at this.
Dead.
I'm looking at this.
Quick. I'm going outside.
Netting.
He's touching on the left door.
I'm setting the shield. Go back.
I'm getting shot from behind.
Go back.
One enemy.
Go back.
I'm watching. On me. What is
I get one. Lift.
Popping a bed. I'm steering.
Again,
I get one.
this is threshold.
Lift.
Popping a bed.
This is a perfect example of thresholds. Again, this is a threshold right here. If you want to cut off the angle in which somebody can approach you, you just play this side here. When your teammates come to help here, they're gonna run over to the side. This is people. I think people underestimate the value of thresholds when I talk about using them to cut off LOS here. Look at how punished this guy gets for swinging Flash here, even though Flash is by himself here, right? Like obviously that caustics low.
On me. What is
I get one.
But that Horizon dies for it, right?
On me.
That Horizon just dies for this piece,
Popping a bed.
right? Chat, is this jump here good or bad? Jump good, jump bad. Which one? I'll play it again.
One enemy.
I'm watching.
On me. What is
I get one.
Popping a bed. I'm steering.
I'm committed to this house now.
Is this jump good or bad, chat?
I'm watching.
On me. What is
I get one.
Popping a bed. I'm steering.
I'm committed to this house now.
He was 1 HP.
I'm selling. I commit to this.
Bad? You guys are all wrong. This jump is actually good here. Jumping is typically counterintuitive to how you act to actually living, because jumping makes your hitbox predictable, right? Jumping is good in certain situations. This is one of the situations in which it's good, right? If you look at the threshold, so if we look at the understanding here of the threshold, it's good because it's in smoke. It's not in smoke. The smoke, quote unquote, is just the gas. Is the enemy gas.
I'm watching.
Well, yeah, he's not taking gas here. By the time he jumps, it's like 1 tick in gas, and even then, gas or smoke wouldn't affect if a jump was good or bad. The important thing to understand here is, so again, let's redraw the threshold here, right? When the Horizon swings here and crosses this threshold into Blackhand's controlled space, so this is Blackhand's controlled space, right? Flash is here. Flash has a wall directly behind him here, right? It's not that big. It's like that big, I think. Right. Flash is playing the angle, so this Horizon, if this Horizon wants to peek, she has to either go here, which I don't think she can really do because there's like boxes and crates here just go over. So her only option really is to peek Flash by sending through the door here, right? Going through the threshold across, right? And Flash can get assistance from teammates who are coming over to the side. Flash has calmed that they're on me, and one of them goes, okay, I'm coming, or something like that. Something like that. I'm ad-libbing it a little bit, but the idea is still there, right? And so when they come around, this person swings Flash. Flash's job is to do 2 things. 1, stay alive, right? And 2, deal damage, right? Flash has both of these goals because it's a team fight. If Flash's goal was not to stay alive and just deal damage Flash would have just sent it in there, right? However, if Flash's goal wasn't to deal damage and just stay alive, Flash would have just left earlier, right? They want to kill the team on the inside. They want to deal damage. You can't win a fight without damage, obviously, right? So Flash is trying to do both of these things at the same time, right? Because a threshold limits the natural view so since a threshold limits the natural angle of which an opponent can actually push you here, right? Flash is playing this hard wall here to limit off where an opponent could actually view him from, right? Let's say the viewpoint of somebody standing here, standing inside or something like that, standing in the doorway here, something like this, right? So someone has to actually like fully walk out to actually see here, right? So keeping this blind spot in mind, right? To force somebody to have to walk out of the door, Flash only has a very limited strafe, or Flash only has a very limited space to strafe, okay? Understanding this is very, very important, okay? Understanding thresholds really will save your life a lot of the time, right? Could have one clip maybe without the jump because it went haywire with the jump. The Flash has to stay alive and deal damage. You don't have to kill somebody. His teammates are coming over to help. He doesn't have to one clip. It doesn't matter. That's not the goal. Right? And then this person, the enemy also has horrendous strafe. Look at how this Horizon strafes. Left, right. Should have just hit one hard strafe, or just slid jump out past the threshold here, right? And that's it, right? Here, they wipe the team.
Our options are either to like wall to this way. I cover the bank. Yeah, can we go? Can we go? Top floor. Yeah, we can. I'm walling. Maybe thirst. I'm not walling. Try and thirst.
Where is he?
140. Yeah, I'm looking.
I net.
They're getting climbed on. Kill the third party. I'm coming behind them. Yeah.
I kill him.
Nice.
I'm here, Mom. I'm with Mom. I'm with Mom.
16.
Lots of damage here. Swings out.
Yeah.
I'm one in three. We got mirrored from behind.
I need to yeah.
The average time to kill in which you get one clip is probably 0.6 to 0.8 seconds, something like that, right? Assuming armors and mags and blah blah blah, right? Stuff like that. This is not enough time to actually react and get back into cover, right? This is not enough time. The average reaction time would be like 0.2 to 0.4 seconds. For a pro player, it's probably closer to this scale. For you watching this video or watching this stream, is probably over here. So it's important to make sure that you assume that your peaks are always going to result in you dying, right? You should always peek and with the luxury of strafing back into cover should you be able to, right? When you play from cover, you should swing from the cover and then walk back into it, okay? How far you swing depends on how many people you know you're going to swing or can expect to swing. So, again, it's important that we assume that our strafe is going to fail or that our dodge is going to fail, right? We should assume that when we peek, we want to go back into cover rather than not going into cover, okay? You strafe, like, you slide jump out, you go here, and then you go, and then you start strafing this way, and go, oh my god, I hit the guy 120. It's easy to turn back and then continue to push up, or even just walk forward here, right? Your options for pushing forward are a lot more open than they are to go back into cover. And that's exactly the logic that that Flash follows here, right? Look at the peek again. Peeking this and immediately walking to the left out of the horizontal. Well, obviously he is in a horizontal here, so you could go, but you just walk out of the horizontal, right? But once the horizontal goes away and he peeks this again, he follows the same logic. He immediately starts walking left, and then three people swing out, right? If he continued to assume that his peek here would be successful, he would have died here. Look how much damage he takes on this, actually. Right? He would have died if he was there for probably not even half a second, like 0.3 seconds longer, right? The double time does help a lot, but this is his job as Bangalore to take peeks like that and be aggressive like that, right? Also, it's really important to make sure that you understand when trying to peek things and fight people, okay?
He's not here. Pick it up. 5 bullets. No one's on the door. We can slide to the door and then try and one clip one on the left, okay? I'm walling towards the right.
I hit him.
Yeah,
Under the
He ran. Come.
Under him.
They ran.
I net.
Netting right. Netting in.
What the fuck?
Fuck. I fuck my net.
Oh, Verholst.
Get rep, okay? Come in the room.
Yeah.
Come in the room.
One cannon out, one cannon out.
Okay, okay, so get the face, get the face. I got it. Nice. Careful behind, coming behind!
Ben.
On the team. Nice. Oh my god. Alliance just got blown the fuck up here.
Let's go! I'm fencing, alright?
Holy shit. Okay. So,
Yeah,
alright, so it's important to make sure that you understand that when you're fighting somebody, you need to if you have an advantage, I want to view fighting. I've said this before, and you might be familiar with this concept. Have you watched my coaching? But I like to refer to fights as snowballs. Right? Fights in Apex should look like snowballs. AKA you build a bigger and bigger and bigger snowball. The more and more you go on, right? You're looking to gain leverage to start building your snowball. Here, their leverage was ratting, right? Whether you like it or not, they ratted, TSM on the inside of the wall section here, right? They managed to rat them and get them split, so they could actually try and capitalize off of the damage, that they did, right? Ratting managed to build the first steps of the snowball here, right? But when you are building a snowball, you don't want to just throw it away by playing slow. Sometimes it is good to play slow, but when you're actually team fighting here, when you're playing slow is a situation where you don't want to team fight. When you play slow is a situation where you're trying to manage multiple teams and you're trying to hold a position, okay? And typically playing slow involves that your snowball has passive gain rather than gain that you have to acquire. So for example, if a team has to come to you because of zone, they're pressured, right? Building leverage against team can be things that you do deliberately or things that the game forces them to do, right? So if they have to move from zone, you have leverage on them. They need to move from zone, they need to move from their position, something like that, right? Typically, you will be the one that has to incur leverage onto another team, but not always. Verholst here allows them to keep building their own snowball. TSM manages to get out, so they're kind of negated this last part of the snowball here, right? They don't get to finish the team fight, but you can kind of see overall how they want to keep their momentum going throughout the fight. It's a flow that you want to maintain and keep. If you stutter, or if you take too much time to actually capitalize off of your own advantages in your own snowball, your snowball is going to stop and start melting, right? It's going to start getting smaller in size. This counter swing here is really strong from Blackhand. It's again, like I said earlier, if you have momentum, you need to keep that momentum going in place, right? It doesn't matter. A lot of people will get really scared, especially because they're crossing the threshold here. With all talking about thresholds earlier, I want to talk about this specifically. They are crossing the threshold here into Alliance's territory, right? This room is split in half, basically, between Alliance's control and Blackhand's control, right? And so crossing this door enters Alliance's controlled space, right? But the thing is that entering this space, as long as you solidly swing from this door and you manage to kill this Bangalore instead of playing passively in your own space here, you'll start to push up and take your own space and take more pressure, right? The worst thing that you could do here is walk up to this door and just hold the door, right? Imagine if Flash just walked up the door and held it and shot out at this Bang who was walking out. This person knows to cover for their Bangalore, right? Whoever's playing here knows that they need to look for their Bang who just got cracked. I'm sure this Bang is like, I'm cracked, I'm going back, right? They know, right? So if you just hold the door, that's where his crosshair is going to be. When you're trying to dodge and avoid damage, the whole goal of what you're doing is avoiding people's crosshairs for traditional damage. Traditional damage being gunplay. Non-traditional damage being, abilities, grenades, right? You want to completely cross through thresholds when you cross them. You don't want to half-ass it. If Flash just stood in the doorway here, not only is he not getting the ability to abuse his movement speed as Bangalore, he's gonna take a lot more damage taking this peak, right? Look how much damage he takes here. I mean, like, literally none, right? And then, to be honest with you, the attention was focused on helping their Bangalore. Strafing just walks up and fucking shits on UP. They shit on Alliance so bad, though.
Just fight.
So I talk a lot about resource attribution. But there's one resource I don't really talk about too much, and I, should. but this is a perfect example of understanding that resource, right? Nades are a resource, obviously, right? Abilities are resources, right? Ammo. Meds, right? I'm trying, right? So this is just things you expend, right? I'm just kind of listing things you expend in a game, things that you use in a game, things that go in your inventory, right? The resource that most people don't talk about is attention. Attention, you can view attention like a self-regenerating resource that actually because without attention, if you aren't focusing on the right things at the right time, you need to dedicate your attention like a resource. It's literally like a deployable resource, right? I guess you can kind of view it if you really want to, like an RTS, like asking like your builders in a game to do something. You're basically doing the same thing with your team, right? You need to attribute attention to the proper things when they actually require that attention, right? It's important to make sure that you understand when to look at things, right? So, for example, right, if this team's in the building, right, every team from zone's gonna have to walk in and rotate from zone to their building, right? This team has to cover an area like this, right? This team has to cover an area like this, and not only that, but they also have to look out for teams wrapping this way as well, because teams can come from this way. They realistically have 3 angles that they need to chow, right? So if we look at angle, and then there's probably teams in their back as well, in the tunnel, right? So they have 3 angles they need to cover, right? Which angles should this team focus on covering, and how many people should they put to each one, right? You can view attention like that. You need to dedicate specific people to doing specific things and holding specific space, especially if you have a spot in zone. You need to establish your presence. I see a lot of lower tier players, especially even in higher ranks, even players that once you reach like diamond or so, stop doing. But I still see, gold, plat, diamond. Sometimes even masters players don't do this. They don't understand the idea of establishing space and using their space to play from, right? I said this earlier. You use cover as a luxury. We have cover for the luxury of playing cover should we need to. We always anchor and extend from cover. The same thing should be true for spots we play. We always have the ability to anchor back to the spot we're playing, and the ability to, go inside, have a secure area that we can hold should we need to, right? But we should always try and take as much space as is reasonably possible, right? So here, right, the team on the building should focus on holding angles 3 and 2, right? The reason being, there could be teams that walk a lot of different ways here. There's likely to be 1 to 2, maybe even 3 teams that walk in from the side, right? Because a team could play this. There's maybe even 4, to be honest with you. Like 4 possible teams could walk in from this way. Maybe even 5, like if you kind of command center team as well. So many potential teams can walk in from this side that you want 2 people to look over here, right? Now the last person is likely to look over here and try and watch their back, right? The spot 1 doesn't require too much attention because the teams in the zone here should, and I use the keyword should. They should hold their spot in the zone. They don't need to worry. They only really need to worry about watching their north side and their east side, right? East side, right? Obviously, when it comes to not professional play, the game changes a little bit, and people are stupid and then just look at fights and go, look at fight, look, right? So you might get grief from team 1, right? However, this is enough attention that one player can look at this. If you go, oh my god, wait, we have free kills here. There's a team fighting here. You guys can split now. Go one person looking here, one person looking here, one person watching your back, or this person plays hybrid between watching this team and this team, right? Attention is a really important resource to make sure that you divert to hold your space, right? This team fails to watch their back here, and Blackhand just gets to walk up for free, right? Like this team was shooting a team out in the open here. Now they're forced to push into this team in the open here, right? They managed to crack one, and then they're just gonna push and they pop Bangle, but they're in a bunker, right? They don't need to worry about the Bangle at all. This team's overextending and trying to poke out and trying to, But Blackhand can afford to be aggressive, not only because of their armor state. They have purple, red here, right? They can afford to be aggressive. The team inside has blue armor. They have a huge, loot gap over the other teams here. Just because of the fighting playstyle that they've been doing. Let's get the thirst, they get the knock, right? Too many people here would literally take this engagement. They would take this engagement and go, wait, it's a third party, there's only 2 down there, right? And here's where they would falter. They would take the height here. and they would immediately swing and then drop down, right? It's good that strafing, it's good that one person drops down, but you literally have your two teammates holding the height here, shooting down on them, right? They're pressured from literally 3 different angles here. I would see too many players just immediately triple send, triple drop down here. Do you realize that that's the mistake that all of these teams made? Strafing drops once they knock 2, right? Strafing is dropping when they knock 2. And then player K follows right behind. And like I said, fights in this game have to take so quick of a time, right? They have to be extremely quick. And if they're not quick, then I mean, literally, this fight has taken how long? Let's count from when the bangle happens. 15:46. 20 seconds, and then the comm to go back up is put down, right? This fight has taken 20 seconds. That's a little bit too long, to be honest with you. Because they're getting ready to get thirded here, right? Dude, that was... Dude. This anti-mirror is ferocious, dude. Alright, quiz time, chat. Why is the anti-mirror really good here? There's one reason in particular why the anti-mirror is really good here. Obviously, if you've watched any of my content on strafing and strafing in general, you'll understand the 3 laws as to which you typically strafe aim. Obviously, these are non-exhaustive, but there's typically 3 reasons why you strafe aim, right? First one is HP advantage, right? Strafe aiming being mirroring anti-mirroring, by the way. HP advantage, or 2, time to kill difference. Obviously, that is the same thing as HP advantage, but we're talking more like guns. We're talking more stuff like that, right? Time to kill advantage. Like if I have a sentinel and you have an R9, you just strafe aim me, right? The last one is shooting first, right? Shooting first is a way more complicated topic than it may seem, because this is a natural design philosophy or it's a natural design consequence, and I don't use consequence as a negative light. Consequence just means the result of an action. Right? It's just a natural design consequence of higher time to kill games, right? If we're both cheating, right, and which we can view strafing as cheating, right, because it enhances both players' damage output to 100%, right? But shooting first is not only literally shooting first, right? If I'm cheating and you're cheating, and I shoot you first, you die, right? Assuming there's no other variable like these two, right? We both have the same gun, same armor, and I shoot you first, I win, right? The same thing's true for if I somehow get an angle on you and I end up, physically shooting you first. For example, like I'm behind you, you have to react, turn around, and then shoot me. I can kill you first, right? This anti-mirror from Flash Kid was so textbook perfect here, right?
We're not looking at the same things, guys.
You need to come back, Mark.
Yeah.
I can't.
One!
Nice.
Get the thirst!
Cannot. They're racing.
I 70'd him. He's no rising.
Crack!
This anti-mirror is fucking perfect. Not only does it deny the Horizon the ability to go into cover, but it literally also makes aiming so much easier for Flash Kid here. It's such a perfect anti-mirror. It's so good. Wait, oh yeah, this is the game that Blackhand gets like third in. This game's really good.
They're fighting right.
Look back first!
Look right.
Okay, go right, Mark.
Go
Just go right. Alright, just kill it, clear right. We need to clear right. I'm peeking over them.
I can't tell what's happening.
I don't know. Go back.
Yeah, we're running back.
We need a hard hold left, please.
I'm okay.
Dropping you my armor. Careful peeking
Careful
right.
right. Yeah.
Stay this.
2 seconds.
I'm 100%.
By the way, dropping armor like this is not good unless you have a Watson. It's specifically good for a Watson because you can pop 2 cells and have the gen heal you faster than it would be to, or it's a little bit longer than it is to bat, but not by long, right? You basically get a bat off for free. It saves you bats. And so dropping your armor here so your teammate can pop their medkit and then you can pop the cells literally splits the healing task into 2. It happens way faster.
Wipe this.
Yo, you're all.
Starting.
Bottom one. 1 get behind you. Trust me right away.
You shouldn't have hard strafed to the wall here.
They might pick one.
shouldn't have hard strafe to the wall here. The problem with doing this is that this limits both you and your opponent's strafe potential. He should have hard strafed out in the open here.
Fuck this.
Yellow, yellow wall.
He should have hard strafed out here like this, and then he should have wrapped back right this way to pinch his opponent against the wall. Being pinched against the wall is the worst thing that can happen to you because, especially because this team's all sliding out here, this guy can't do anything. If there's a person here and a person here and a person here, there's nowhere that this guy can move to actually escape damage. He should have just hard swung out in the open. It would have been better. He would have taken less damage because he would have been able to strafe to full capacity here. But it's a very minor thing in the overall. Like, they actually did take a lot of damage.
I'm not gonna. Heal on me. Yep.
Oh my goodness gracious. When I talk about hard swinging versus playing cover, this is exactly what I mean. This team's playing this wall for cover, but Blackhand wide swings them here, and they stand still shooting their guns at them. And look at how fast this team dies because they're not moving at all. They're just hard ADSing with their guns, right? They literally don't do enough damage to actually kill Blackhand because Blackhand actually has good mechanical skill here and wide swings past the corner. They're literally standing here with nowhere to move because they're not moving anywhere. And Blackhand's in the open here, pinching them against the wall and actually shooting them here. Like if Blackhand stayed here to play cover and to poke here, it literally would have been more of a 50-50. That it would literally be like a 50-50 of whoever hits more bullets, right? Assuming that like there's no like player error or like a very minimal amount of player error, right? Absolutely, like their mechanics are so beautiful in these last games that you can tell that they're in the zone. Watching their earlier games versus watching these games in winners bracket and in finals is so different. It's a night and day.
Yeah, I don't have fences.
If you guys made it to the end of the video, thank you so much for watching. This video has a lot of information in it, so I encourage you to rewatch it in the future after applying some of the concepts so you can make sure you fully understand. If you guys appreciate this kind of content, let me know in the comments below, and be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. If you guys are interested, channel memberships are the best way to support me on YouTube, and you get a few perks for doing it. Plus, I greatly appreciate it. Be sure to check it out with the join button below. Also, if you're interested in personalized coaching that targets specifically what you need to improve on, I offer it through Calendly. There's a link in the description below. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Thank you so much for watching.